Right. We are three, two, one. We are live. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to host Adam Chernick from SHoP Architects to talk about their Habitats project and can't wait to know more about this amazing development. So, first of all, thanks, Adam, for being on our platform and sharing your project with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be here and chat about the project and meet the community. And I'm, even more excited to just hear about what you all have been up to and are excited about.
I see. So, before we dived in, Adam, if you can share three highlights of your career till date, what would those be?
Three highlights of my career. Yeah. Wow. I I think one highlight would be I guess to take a step back. I came from the architecture side of the business here. So one highlight was I was always the BIM technology role at architecture firms. And so definitely one of the highlights of my career has been leading the team that helped build out a large majority of the interior space of World Trade Center 3 in Manhattan. And so I led the building information modeling for that project. And so that was one of the highlights. That was an incredible team, an incredible collaboration between so many different companies and consultants. And so, when I was on the architectural proper side of the industry, it was one of, definitely the highlight of my sort of architectural career there was getting to deeply work on that project. So that was one of them. Another one of them was my transition to software development and to virtual reality and augmented reality development. So again, to give a little bit of background on myself, previous architect turned into a software engineer. And so, just realizing the impact that game engines and interactive mediums will have on our industry, on AEC. Really, it was such a key moment in my career. I built a couple Unity applications. I built a mobile augmented reality application and a mobile virtual reality application while I was at HOK, almost right after this World Trade Center 3 project. And I, pitched a leadership and I said, hey, we can be the first architecture firm in the world to have a custom VR and AR application for all of our clients for relatively little overhead. And have an extreme competitive advantage here over other architecture firms. And they liked the idea, and they created a new role for me on the global design technology team of HOK. And so that was another highlight of my career, was that pivot from proper architecture to software development. And from then on, it was my job to write code all day instead of design buildings. So that was another one. And then I guess the third one would be, coming to SHoP Architects and building the team that I currently lead. And so I currently lead an applied research team here at SHoP. So I lead a team of software engineers, generative designers, computational designers, and just 3D generalists, as well as an IoT engineer, to build a whole range of different applications that are mainly focused on virtual and augmented reality in order to address different problems within our industry. And so that was, another incredibly impactful moment in my career, was, proving the impact that these tools can have, and then justifying investment from leadership at SHoP to grow a team. That was a pretty exciting moment in my career as well. So those are three.
That's incredible. So I'm curious to know, what was then the inspiration towards setting up Habitats, NFT? What was the initial discussions look like?
Yeah, the initial discussion was very interesting. Honestly, we had been having some small discussions about, blockchain technology and Web3 and how, of course, we don't think that it's going anywhere long term. The underlying technology has so much merit. And then of course, with Facebook switching its name to Meta and everybody starting to talk about the metaverse, I think there was a spike there in Google trends of, in that word, and we had many clients actually coming to us at the same time that metaverse was spiking. The Web3 and NFT boom was just starting to pick up, and so people, that people started learning about what Web3 was and what NFTs are and the metaverse and how they all kind of intersect. And we got a lot of calls from our clients saying, hey, what is this stuff? What's Web3? What are NFTs? I'm reading a lot about the metaverse. How can we collaborate on something interesting and impactful here to work on together? And so after several of our clients came to us with a similar question, we had to take a moment to step back and really think hard on, okay, there are these new technologies. We have some people around the office that are pretty knowledgeable on these pieces of technology. Myself being one of them, I have been an advocate for blockchain and DeFi since about 2015. So I've luckily been interested and pretty highly engaged in blockchain and DeFi for a long time. And so, but that's always just been kind of like a side passion, not anything to do with my work. And so, I got to luckily bring that back up to leadership. Hey, actually, I've been really interested in this stuff for a long time, as well as the AR VR sort of passion there. And I brought a few options that we can engage with to the firm. And one of which is, hey, there's this thing called an NFT collection, which is a really interesting new, vehicle to create potentially an art project, right? Where we were thinking about projects similarly to art blocks or some of the more generative art collections. Of course, less so on the PFP side. We're not really interested in, the two-dimensional images ecosystem of NFTs, but really what can the underlying impact of a verifiable certificate of authenticity on the blockchain really bring to this industry, right? That impact is huge for many different use cases. And so we realized that, of course, we don't have any smart contract developers in-house. So we partnered with a smart contract development team that we knew through some mutual friends through the firm. They're incredible. The firm's called Koba. I will send a link here. They're an incredible team of smart contract developers and Web3 developers. So we're working very closely with them. And yeah, so we, I brought a couple opportunities to the table to SHoP. One is, hey, let's be the first architecture firm in the world to properly launch an NFT collection, a premier level NFT collection. It makes sense that we are doing, conducting generative design in our day-to-day job at SHoP, right? Our buildings are almost all have at least some fundamental generative design integrated into these buildings. Let's repurpose these skill sets for these virtual worlds, create an NFT collection that actually brings some additional true value and utility to this industry, right? Instead of a 2D PFP project that claims it has utility and they try to develop some roadmap that has utility. Let's actually just give people buildings that they can use. That seems like a pretty inherent utility, right? And so we did that. We wrote some algorithms. We actually, anyway, I guess I'll try to cut this short, but we developed the first algorithm that was outputting these low polygon within the constraints of these different virtual worlds, these buildings. And, in about a month, we had a good algorithm, and we came to the leadership team, and we said, hey, we have this thing, we could launch it. And they said, that's incredible, but the buildings don't really look as good as we want them to, right? If we're going to stamp SHoP's name on this, they have to hit that premier design quality level that we need them to, right, to put our name on. So we actually spent, the next 6 months after that, developing and critiquing and tweaking these algorithms in order to, get to that premier level that we needed them to be. And so we're really excited about what we have here for our Genesis collection, our first collection, but we're even more excited about our second collection. We already, we learned so much from our first collection, and our second collection is going to be such an improvement from there, even, that we've already started building. Anyway, so yeah, so a generative NFT collection is one of the first priorities. A second priority is just getting our, dipping our toes in the water and finding partners, right? We know that we're not going to be able to do everything by ourselves. The best way to learn is to learn from the ecosystem and the community that's already been doing this. And so we dove in super deep. We're having conversations with the partnerships teams of every single one of the virtual worlds, Decentraland, OnCyber, Somnium Space. We're talking to these teams weekly to try to figure out new collaborations and how we're going to build in these virtual worlds. And so, yeah, just diving deep into making connections with these different virtual worlds, with different community teams, all of the best creative development agencies here that are doing the virtual development for Samsung and L'Oreal and all of these different big brands that are starting to come into the space. We're actually talking to all of these companies that are doing their development to figure out ways to collaborate. Anyway, so yeah, that's what this is all about. We're working with some large virtual real estate owners. We just released the tallest tower in Decentraland, which we had a team of shoppers working on that project, and we just had an event in Decentraland, and it was a success. We had almost 600 people, I think, come to the event in Decentraland, and so I'm going to send a whole bunch of links here to all of that stuff, but I'll stop there. That was kind of the first premise into how SHoP got involved in Web3 and NFTs and the metaverse, and kind of those two paths that we're going, kind of one-of-one development of virtual real estate as well as NFT collection and working with Web3 consultancy. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
First of all, I must say, Adam, I could see your passion when you're talking about like this space. So that's incredible. And second of all, like thanks a lot for highlighting this, because it's not just releasing an artwork. There's so much like strategy, business goes into forming this partnership, and it takes a lot of time and effort to build this like engagement to make the launch like successful. So
yeah,
like I could feel it. And I have some technical questions lined up, but before we do that, can you showcase like how the NFT looks like, the utilities and things you can do?
Absolutely. Let me try to paste in some links here and see if they all come in as links. They did. So in the chat, the first link there is a link to our Web3 enabled website, which is, I might be wrong in claiming this, but at least to my knowledge, right, we are the first large architecture firm to have a proper public Web3 enabled website where we're actually going to have our mint from our own website. And so this is this is habitats.land. Please feel free to jump in there. It's showcasing some of the habitats that have come out of the generative algorithm, some rendering. So these are brought into different virtual worlds and different, rendering platforms to be able to visualize what these could be. And then we have a research tab there that talks a little bit about the generative work. But it doesn't go too deeply. We're also working on a white paper to talk about the technical details of the process itself. Yeah, and so this is just kind of like a high level site here, but this is where people are going to come to mint their NFTs when we start minting here at the end of this month, which is exciting. Yeah. And then that second link is just a link to SHoP. In case you don't know anything about SHoP, this is some of our work. We have designed and built some, incredible projects. We've gotten to, we just finished the Uber headquarters in San Francisco. We're working on the YouTube headquarters in California. We are working on many 1,000-foot skyscrapers around the world, and working with the U.S. government and Department of State on U.S. embassies. We're designing U.S. embassies around the world as well. So, we're doing the Atlassian headquarters in Australia, which we're really excited about. Anyway, so lots of fun projects and clients that we've gotten to work for. So just wanted to highlight some of those. That next link is a demo. So I can share my screen maybe, and then and show you guys this first demo. This is just bringing one of our habitats into Twinmotion, which then has the Twinmotion online player. They have kind of like a browser-based, I think it's using pixel streaming behind the scenes to get kind of like a higher level of visual fidelity. And so this is to show that, I guess to preface the technical questions that you'll bring up, really the way that we were able to develop a generative building that is metaverse agnostic. This building can be dragged and dropped into any of these virtual worlds. Is we had to focus on the lowest common denominator virtual worlds, right? And so the constraints, each of these virtual worlds has different sets of constraints. So we focused on the most difficult set of constraints possible for our algorithm to make sure that this building will work with all of them. And what we've been finding now as we validate this, this algorithm, is that it worked. We've been dragging and dropping these assets into new virtual worlds right and left, and they come in pretty clean, which we're really excited about. So I'll share my screen here. Let me know. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Amazing.
Yep.
So, awesome. Yeah, so it might be a little bit slow. I apologize if it is, but this is, one of the live demos that we have going here, where what you're going to get when you buy one of these NFTs is an empty building, similarly to how we do things in the real world with architecture, where we have what's called a core and shell, where the architect, depending on their scope of work, will just develop sort of the exterior skin of the building, the main structure, and the main circulation through the building. That's what our project is doing. And so this is a core and shell project. So all of this interior design and furniture won't come with the habitat itself. But that's sort of the entire idea behind this collection, is giving people the means to do whatever they want with these buildings, right? They can turn it into a library, a community center for their community. They can, turn it into, they can actually link multiple of them together to create a larger building, or, anyway, do whatever they want with it, which is fun and exciting. And so you can see that, we're using materials that are, again, able to plug and play into many different metaverses. And, we really wanted to make sure that the richness and the interior and exterior spatial qualities of these buildings, hit that premier quality that we were looking for, while still being able to be like very randomized and generative. Anyway, so this is kind of, an example of one of the habitats. It's pretty fun. So then I'll jump to another example here. Let's see if I can bring up the Zoom chat. Zoom is always kind of wonky for me. Yeah, so then I'll bring up this last link is the link to our Discord. Please feel free to jump in and join. We're giving updates and on next events that we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing an event in Somnium Space, which is going to be really fun. We're building out a whole bunch of different outposts. So we're building different sort of community spaces within all of these different virtual worlds. I'm going to jump into this next one, which is the Decentraland Tower here. I'm going to close this to get some bandwidth back. Let's see. Does anybody have any questions on anything that they're seeing yet? Can you all hear that beeping? Did I share the sound?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this is the Decentraland Tower that we built out. So we have a little robot here, Alice, who walks you through some of the project. If you want to talk to her, then you can learn more. And it just talks you through the project. You can learn a little bit about our NFT collection and the Habitats Tower here by talking to Alice. We have a few signs up to learn about the tower itself, things that you can explore. There's some art exhibits inside, and there's some fun interactive components to the build here. And then a fun little mini game that we created where you can find all of the hidden habitats. And if you find all of the hidden habitats and collect them all, then you'll see a message come up on your screen that you can take a screenshot and send over to our team in order to gain a prize and a special Discord role that will be helpful later on. We've been working with some NFT artists. So these sculptures that you see, these sort of rays that are animated around, were by an artist called Metageist, who is an NFT artist who's pretty well known and well respected in the industry. And there's some other fun things. So here's a tram that we have in here, which you can hop on and ride to check out a lot of the site. So this entire site that you're looking at is the 144 parcels, which we're going to develop further. There's a hoverboard here that you can ride around and fly around the space. And yeah, there's a few other fun things, but we'll just ride the tram real quick to give you a view of the entire 144 parcels. So this is the extents of the estate here. This is what the tower looks like from afar, which is pretty fun. We have a lot of biophilia and nature sort of built in, because that's one thing that we want to make sure, deeply is not lost in these virtual worlds, is making sure that the connection back to nature is there. So I guess I will just run and jump into the tower real quick. I don't want to explore the entire tower with you guys because it would take too long. But I'll jump in here and run around a little bit. There's some links, of course, to our Discord and to some other resources. Here's a video. So I'm gonna also link you to the to one of these videos, the Habitats short video here. I'm gonna send a link to that in the chat. If you want to watch this gives a pretty good quick overview of the project itself. And so we have sort of those different videos linked here. We're going to be sponsoring an event at NFT NYC. It's called NFTC down at the Seaport in Manhattan. And so that's actually tomorrow. If anybody's around, it is free to join. And so if anybody's in New York and wants to join NFTC and Habitats, please come down to the Seaport and enjoy with us. This is a directory for all the different floors and artists that we've been collaborating with, and have some exhibits here. So if you jump on here and ride the elevator, then this is our ride up the tower. So right now it's 21 floors. Again, a lot of the floors right now are going to be empty, under construction. we're working with a lot of Web3 companies and others to really figure out what we want to do with this tower and figure out what sorts of partnerships we can create. So this first gallery here is by an NFT artist named Philip Hodas. He's pretty well known and well respected within the industry. And so, you can, come up and check out some of his artwork. And eventually we're going to, of course, put links to his Twitter and to any of his work on OpenSea. Again, we're early days with this tower, but this is just kind of like our first release here. And then over here, this is a fun one. We have this screen, which is actually a live streaming capability. So we can live stream directly from Zoom or OBS directly into this environment. So we can start to host more realistic events in here. We can start to, have roundtable discussions and all of that from within this virtual environment, which we're really excited about. Let's see. Yeah, if you go all the way to the top again, there's just more virtual, there's just more art exhibitions and other fun interactive things. Let's see here. Yeah, these are all the posters from NFTC, which is the event that we're going to be helping to sponsor. So a lot of incredible artists were working on some of these posters. Let's see if I just run to the top really quick. Please bear with me. Hopefully nobody gets sick by watching me run through here really quickly. Yeah, and
we are loving the tour. You're giving amazing tour.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah. Here's another NFT artist that we're integrating here. Noe Alonso is another incredible artist. We're going to be putting the links there, but feel free to jump in and check it out. And then here's one more is Raul Marx. So we can play his video. This is pretty incredible. I think he's an animator for Netflix. Oh, sorry about that. A little bit of feedback there. He's an animator for Netflix who has been doing a lot of NFT artwork, which has been pretty incredible, and he's been getting a lot of traction. We have a POAP up here, so you can claim a token for having participated in the tower. And then this is one of those floating habitats. So if you collect them, you'll hear a little coin pickup, and then you'll see at the bottom of your screen, habitats found one. So if you go find all 5 of those, then you will be able to claim a prize from our Discord. And so there's another one up there, and there's a couple more if you go look around. There's another one right up there. So I gave you a hint to find 3 of them. But yeah, I'll stop sharing, or I'll kill this Decentraland experience here. And I guess I'll stop sharing my screen because I don't really have anything else to pull up. Let me see if there were any links in the chat. Let me see if there were any links. Yeah, thank you, Jamie, for sending that comment here. We have a link for ArchiDAO's members to register for our allow list on pre-mint. And so this is going to be, our allow list to participate in the mint. We're going to be minting at 0.1 Ethereum, which we think is an incredibly fair price for what we've been developing. Really, we're leaving it that low of a mint price. If somebody was going to really allocate this much time and resources into developing a project, typically those projects mint prices are much higher. But we really want to kind of like show the commitment to the community that we're not here to, right? This isn't a money grab. This isn't just SHoP trying to, do a one-off project and make a quick buck and then stop. This is to, we have this mint price low to prove to the community that, hey, we're here for the long run. This is going to be sort of like an access token to future drops, to future experiences, to all of the things that we build within Web3. And so that's again what this is representing. What? Oh,
Amazing.
that's it. I guess I'll stop there. Our Discord has a whole bunch of other fun links and resources, and yeah, I'd love to open it up to questions. We've been having a lot of fun with the project.
Yeah, I'll start one, and anyone uh, in the call can also ask. Like, what has been the most challenging part of this development? If you can elaborate on that, and like piece of advice you can share for other people or the architecture firms who are in this space.
Yeah, honestly, you want to hear what has been the most difficult, but I think that I find myself very lucky, and I'm sure that many of you are also in similar lucky positions where the leadership teams at your architecture firms are so incredibly supportive, right, to what we're doing. And I feel very lucky that the leadership team is so supportive to our team and the different research efforts that we bring to the table and build. And so that's really, what has been, I don't know if I would call it difficult, but at least time consuming, is making sure that all of the different parties, right? We're SHoP Architects is a medium to, large scale architecture firm. We're relatively corporate, right? We need to make sure that we have a brand to maintain, right? We need to make sure that anything that we jump into, we're not doing it in any sort of like jumping on a bandwagon way, right? If we're going to be doing this to jump on a bandwagon, we have no reason to actually be doing that. And so we took a lot of time to very intentionally focus on, what we're bringing to the table, that, how we're progressing the industry, how we can truly create partnerships that bring something to the table that has value. And so that's really been, not the hardest part, but definitely a tricky part, is making sure that there's buy-in from everybody, right? That there's, making sure that everybody is knowledgeable enough about blockchain and Web3 to understand the implications of a research effort like this, right? And so it's been a fun process. But it has been also, it takes time, and it takes a lot of conversations. It's been, and in the end, right, it's even more validating because, the owners of our company, the partners of our company, understand deeply this ecosystem and what we're trying to do here, and are fundamentally on board, which is really, really exciting. So that's been again, not difficult, but time consuming. And then another one has been just developing the algorithm. Of course, there's so many edge cases, right? When you're writing software to do something like this. Yeah.
No, that was like someone joining the session.
Oh, no problem. Yeah. And so, writing these algorithms has been, relatively difficult to validate and verify that they are working with all these different virtual worlds, that they're following all of these constraints, that, collisions, of course, we want colliders to work in all these different worlds, and circulation, making sure that circulation works nicely. And, the circulation on Gen 1 is very, it's very good, but we are already devising a lot of plans for circulation on Gen 2 to be much better, right? Anyway, so there's so many variables and so many constraints. And so that's really, that has been a difficult one, but we're pretty proud of where we've gotten. And we think that that's due to such a, again, such an incredible collaboration between different organizations, sub-organizations within our firm, right? We were collaborating with the proper visualization team, our team, the computational design leadership team who's writing algorithms, right? This is a machine learning based algorithm. So we were training a model on physically modeled pieces in order to create a larger collection for the massings. And so, it's just been a beautiful collaboration, and it has been difficult, of course, to move through that, as building any piece of software is difficult, but you know, nothing. I don't know. I don't know if that was a good answer, but nothing detrimental, I guess. Um, just those items, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, like so, like the architect listening to this now or future, like pitch to the higher team, and maybe we need a workshop from Adam how to make a good pitch to the higher organization to like convince them to pursue this kind of initiative, and like having that collaborative nature and pursue it till the end.
Yeah, honestly, my pitch, just to fill anybody in, and it's not just my pitch, but our pitch as a team, I guess, and our leadership team has been fun, part of our leadership team, of course, was on board from day one. They were the biggest advocates of the whole thing, and they were the people who our clients were coming to asking about these technologies. Of course, they're going to be advocates as well right off the bat, which is necessary to have advocates. But the right, just talking about the implications and talking about the ecosystem itself, and talking about how Nike just Nike just filed for 5 patents for virtual wearable patents, so that they can sell their products in virtual worlds. And so is Burberry and Gucci. And so are, if all of those products, which are not inherently spatial products, right? Our product as an architecture firm is an inherently spatial product, and theirs aren't. And they're seeing the benefits of pulling into these virtual worlds in order to, create new e-commerce systems and all of that, right? It just seems like such a natural progression for us as inherently spatial designers who have these assets to, right, create products that integrate with these virtual worlds. And so and talking about projections, and talking about just historically what has just happened. Like, this NFT boom is wild, right? Art blocks sales, and punks, and apes, and all of these, it's billions and billions of dollars are being transferred between these different projects in order to build these communities, right? These new, fundamentally, it's been so interesting engaging with these Web3 communities, right? Never have I ever been part of an online community that has been so passionate, right, about building and engaging, and so open to talk to other like-minded individuals. It's kind of like a beautiful environment and ecosystem anyway. So, I guess that's kind of the pitch in itself, is just, hey, we need to jump in and participate here. Something incredibly interesting is happening, and it would be a missed opportunity not to dip our toe in the water and, figure out where to take this stuff.
Amazing. We have a question. Like, Richa, you go first.
Yeah, hi Adam and everybody here. So it's great to hear, like listening to you is like really, really impressive. So as you have said that you have been into this world like from a quite a long time. So what are actually your future plans if you say like by this project? How are you looking at like after maybe let's say 2-3 years when things that you have thought right now are working in? Because that will admire for young generations and also other people in the space, that how do we foresee these kind of developments? So what are your take on it?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, right? Like this technology changes so quickly, and these virtual worlds change so quickly, and even what's even more interesting about a lot of the decentralized virtual worlds, which is what I'm more interested in, right? Of course, I would say like most of us here are more interested in these decentralized virtual worlds, is we don't know what they're going to look like in a couple of years, because the community is going to get to decide on what they look like, right? So so that's an interesting thing. And so, where are we going long term with this? I would say that we are going to continue to invest. We're going to use some of the capital that is that is accrued by this initial Genesis collection in order to reinvest into research, right? So we're going to continue our research in the platform, in this ecosystem. We're going to be partnering with different companies. We're going to be what we're really interested in is, again, I think all of us is right now, it's just so early. You can buy a plot of land in Decentraland and you can sell that plot of land to somebody, and you can give somebody building rights where you still maintain ownership rights, but somebody else can build for you. But that's really the extent of sharing ownership of a piece of virtual real estate. So once we can fractionalize virtual real estate, right? We have a tower in Decentraland now. How can I give ownership over 4 stories of that building to a specific client, or give building rights for only those specific floors to a specific client, right? Through a smart contract, of course, as it needs to be within this ecosystem, right? We need to develop a lot of technology, and us, again, not an architecture firm, we're not smart contract developers. We need to go out, find the right companies to partner with in order to push this technology forward. And so again, I guess I'm not sure if this is a good answer, but yeah, continuing to collaborate and move forward, find these partners to push the technology forward, yeah, I guess, we don't know where it's going to go, but we know that we don't know which virtual world is going to, be a winner, or there is no winner, and there's many winners. But we know we want to develop assets that can, can plug and play into many of these virtual worlds, and we want to continue to build relationships. I don't know if
so that means that you're gonna be very community driven for this project, but also you are pledging that you will not move away from this whole space. So if someone buy this new venture, like buy in your new venture, they're gonna actually buy your promise of staying for the long term in this game.
Yeah, that's the idea, right? And that's going to come down to an incredible amount of factors, right? The cryptocurrency market right now, it's so volatile, but having been around that market for a long time, this isn't the first time that I've seen the cryptocurrency market be volatile, right? I'm not sure if anybody on the call has seen the same, but this is very scary for people who have just gotten in and have lost money. It's terrible. But again, my outlook is optimistic. I think that it will be back strong. I think that the underlying technology and implications of blockchain and Ethereum itself, and some of these L2 blockchains also are incredibly impactful. I think we are seeing a fundamental shift in how economic structures work. Anyway, so yeah, I would say that this is showing a commitment from SHoP and from Habitats, our sub brand, right? I think that this is a worthy ecosystem to show that commitment to, and I think that our leadership has obviously agrees, because of the amount of investment that they have put into developing all of this. Yeah.
So I have one more question, like ArchiDAO knows about this whole venture like a month ago or before than that also, and I'm pretty sure you have been talking to a lot of people about it. So what are some great comments that you have got, or something that is very interesting that you have heard about this whole project?
Yeah, well, what we're excited about is that it's kind of like a first in it's creating a new NFT asset class, is what we've been hearing a lot, which is really interesting, right? There have been 3-dimensional NFTs. There's like 3-dimensional PFPs that people have been developing. There have been, there have been some, I think you guys know the Mars house, right? It was sort of like a video and image that sold, but that wasn't a 3-dimensional model that you could plug and play. And so anyway, actual buildings, a collection of buildings that are metaverse agnostic. I've continued to try to research as much as I can, and I haven't found another project that kind of, is doing that. Anyway, so that's kind of an exciting thing, is helping to push a new sort of NFT asset class that we're sure that this is going to be repeated, and there's going to be collections of buildings that are metaverse agnostic. But that's been great feedback. We've also been talking to we've been talking to a lot of Web3 investors, venture capital firms. We've been talking to, just people who have been in the space incredibly long, some, large virtual real estate owners who were there at the inception of these virtual worlds, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And they are all, they're all talking to us about how this is a fundamentally new project that they're really excited about. We've just been getting great feedback generally. Whether that means, who knows really, what that means. It comes down to whether people are truly going to show support and jump into this collection launch, or maybe they want to hold off jumping into the collection launch and just see how it goes, see if the rest of the community engages with it. But regardless, how interesting is that an architecture firm can create a product, a collection, which is going to inevitably have a secondary market, right? That's so fundamentally interesting, where if people do find these valuable and start putting them in virtual worlds or holding them as speculation, and the community determines the value. You can participate if you want to participate, or not participate if you don't want to participate, and the world will determine whether these things have value or not. It's so interesting, right? Anyway, so we've just, I don't know, I'll stop there. We've been getting a lot of great feedback from a whole bunch of different organizations and individuals who are well respected within the industry, and we're just excited to keep pushing it and see where we can go with all this. Yeah, I don't know. Do you I'd love to answer more questions. Sorry if that was a bad answer there. Or do you have a follow-up?
No, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a question in the chat by Murray Blur. How do you approach designing spaces differently from a conceptual perspective when you're designing for virtual rather than physical?
That's an interesting one. Yeah. So this is an interesting thing that we've talked about a lot at SHoP, right? How you should design a building differently in the virtual world. And we're still continuing to have those conversations, and we're going to continue to have those conversations through the future, right? For, an undetermined amount of time. We don't know the best answer to that. What we've come to the conclusion is that people want buildings that are, right. We think that if we just took buildings that we were going to build in the real world and we brought them into this virtual world, we would be doing it wrong. That's what we first think, right? If you're taking something that you built for this set of constraints and you're putting it into this world with this set of constraints, there's misalignment. You're not doing it right. But we do think that people want buildings that are familiar, right? They do want a building that can look sort of similar to a building, right? They don't want it to be a spaceship that is now their building. And so that was just from some market research that we did, right? They did want to make sure that it sat on the ground, right? And of course, you can take these things and do whatever you want. If you want it floating in space, you'll see in Decentraland, we have one kind of floating in the air. You can have your habitat floating or do whatever you want. But fundamentally, the way that we're representing them in the beginning is that, it'll be sitting on the ground. It has circulation, staircases, right? And so there's some sort of like representation of a normal building that we're bringing into these projects. But if you click on the link to the twin motion, you'll notice that there's some parts and pieces that are actually floating off in space. And so we left those in because we think that's really interesting, right? We could have taken all those little floating bits out of these buildings. But we think that's incredibly interesting, is that, there is no gravity, there is no structural consultants here that we need to represent. The floor slabs are very thin, right? Because we don't need a structural thickness of floor slab. The facade, we don't have thermal barriers and thermal breaks that we need on our facade panels, so they're thin, which again is this beautiful navigation of all these variables. If we can make them thinner, we can bring our polygon counts lower, which gives us more ability to customize on top of them, right? With these virtual constraints, one of these habitats right now, we shot for a polygon count limit of between 6,000 to 8,000. 6,000 to 7,000 is kind of our sweet spot of polygons. And that's specific to, Decentraland and some of those lower common denominator virtual worlds, to make sure that the community that wants to integrate these buildings has some additional room to customize on top of, right? And so that's a big thing. So the traits and the rarity in these, sorry, I'm rambling, but this is an exciting part for me, is the traits and the rarity of these habitats. One of the traits that you'll see on OpenSea is polygon count. And we've never seen that in an NFT asset ever. One of the traits itself being the polygon count of the item itself. We're curious if the value of one of these NFTs is going to be more valuable because it has a lower polygon count, which then gives the individual themselves more flexibility to customize on top of, right? So now we're playing with the rarity actually having to do with the fundamental mesh asset itself. It's, we find that incredibly interesting. I don't know if, again, I'm kind of going off on tangents, but
no, you're perfectly fine. And like I could see, like, so we have this real world, we have speculative world, and then there is this in between space which like metaverse as allows, and also like potential of participatory design, like you brought up, like community based development. And uh I like SS has a question. Feel free to unmute if you want to ask it yourself, or even I can read. So okay, maybe I'll just read it.
sorry. I thought you were talking to somebody else. Yeah. Do you the psychological question there?
Yeah, like I was gonna ask like SS if SS wants to unmute the mic and ask, but like looks like I'll read it myself. So the question is, do you think that psychological aspects relating to real world architecture should be applicable to virtual world architecture?
You think that psychological aspects relating to real world architecture should be applicable to virtual world architecture? Probably. I'm curious which psychological aspects ASIS is thinking of, maybe specifically a couple.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Hey.
I was thinking about there are many psychological related things now related with our real world architecture, like color psychology, then how we perceive the spaces. There are many such kind of things, like the functional aspects of a space. I think that virtual world architecture is more about visuals and other things. So that's what I was asking. What about the functional, how it's related to our psychology? That was my question. Do we need to consider such things?
Yeah, I just thought, as you're saying that, I just thought of one aspect that I do think that I could speak to. And that is the, biophilia and integration of nature, right? There's some really interesting, like, I went to architecture school twice, actually, once undergrad and once for my master's. And one of the first things that they made us read in undergrad, freshman year of, fresh out of high school, basically, is these case study books on how hospitals design to make sure that there's as much view out to nature as possible, and how looking at nature and trees, there is data to show that it helps people heal faster, right? people's connection to natural environments improves health dramatically. And that's a psychological development that I think definitely bleeds over into the physical world, but then absolutely needs to bleed over into the virtual worlds, right? And so was a fundamental reason why in the tower we have this deep, this deep biophilic integration with the tower to make sure that when you're in there, you do see a lot of plants and trees, and yes, they're low poly, but they are bringing a lot of that the green natural sort of mindset into the virtual environment. Another fun thing that a lot of people don't know, but most people on this call probably already do know, is the construction walls that you see around the city and why they're painted green, and they have to be painted that specific green for when you see a building in construction and they have those those green walls around the construction site, right? They're green specifically because it reminds your brain of a natural environment. And they did many studies on which color they painted it in order to make the general public sort of the least frustrated by that wall being there. And of course they found that it's green because the brain has these psychological connections to green and nature. And so having that green and nature in these virtual worlds, I think is very, very important. Again, don't know if that was a good answer, but I think something that's pretty important.
I see. I also see like Jamie and Mecca from the team, like if they want to add anything or share anything.
Yeah, I can quickly jump in. I think that, alongside the importance of this project and the kind of best in class design is kind of what we're trying to achieve around that. And that is part of the reason why we're jumping in to do these kind of talks. It's all about building an incredibly strong community. I know that you guys at ArchiDAO have done that with, with all of your experience and background, but, with the collection going live towards the end of this month, we're trying to do the same thing. And what we're trying to do is help give access to people who are part of that collection, part of the Discord, to be able to collaborate with the team and be able to collaborate with SHoP. Adam has spoken many times before about, crowdsourcing ideas, talking to other architects, people who want to bring different ideas to life. I think the project's in a lucky space where it's really well funded from a resource perspective. And so the real focus here is to do cool stuff, and to create amazing things that are pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the metaverse. And so, yeah, I would say, you guys have obviously got a fantastic community here at ArchiDAO. And we would love to continue to work with you guys and to talk with you guys and to speak to, just speak about ideas, whether in the ArchiDAO Discord or in the Habitats Discord, and the opportunities that we can help provide. We would love to do that, and it's something that we are super excited about. Whether that is in-person events and like the good old days in real life, or if it's metaverse events and bringing brands and artists to life, it's a rich fabric of opportunities and interesting things. So yeah, less a question, more just a comment to say, really exciting things ahead.
Thanks a lot, Jamie. Like really appreciate the kind feedback, and like, yeah, I think like we are in this together. So if we want to bring revolution in AC, like the more hands we can collaborate, the more innovation we can get out there, brainstorm on ideas and test and experiment. So appreciate all the kind words. And Mecca, do you want to add anything or?
I'm not sure if he fell off or not. So if not, we can keep going.
Yeah. All right. So I had one question and like one observation. So like I'm also like part of CityDAO, and they were discussing the other day about like using metaverse to brainstorm ideas and then realizing it in the physical world. And one thing I found interesting is like the units, the modular units you guys have in your uh, collection. I'm, a- I'm presuming it's like feasible for construction. So like that's also added another layer of logic. So this metaverse uh, builds are like if at some point the community wants to realize there are a few components of feasibility, or correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. So the Genesis collection and the initial, at least for the Genesis collection, right, where we were talking about decreasing the slabs, so the slab depths, and decreasing the facade depths, and there's no structural columns in there. And so these are really developed for virtual worlds, of course. So they aren't developed to sort of be able to be built in the real world. But we do have a really interesting connection between, and tell me if I'm going off the question incorrectly here, but I think what your question's alluding to is the connection between this digital development and these digital assets and our real work, our projects that are getting built in the real world. Is that right? So then I'd love to speak to that connection a little bit.
Yeah, like once you collectively design, can you build that design from the metaverse? Like I was more like connecting with the facade element of you guys, but yeah.
Yeah, so the facades is an interesting one. Those were sort of those all of the different facades drew inspiration from real world projects that SHoP has done. So you can see little sort of hints of SHoP's projects within these habitats. And so yeah, again, those drew inspiration from the real world projects, which of course could be physically built. Many of them have been. But them themselves weren't designed to be physically built. But I would love to talk about one amazing connection between this project and another. And, again, I think it's a shame that we don't have Clint Miller on this call, who is the director of computational design at SHoP Architects. Incredible designer, really truly pushes the limits of computational design further than anyone that I've met. It's really incredible. Him and another individual colleague of mine at SHoP, Scott Overall, who's another computational design leader at SHoP. Those two have worked on incredible computational design projects for all of our top tier clients: Google, Uber, YouTube, Atlassian, the U.S. Department of State, and now we're reallocating this talent to this project, right? Which is incredible in itself. But what's even more incredible than that is the connection between this project's development and our real world development. What we've found, and Clint Miller can articulate this much better than I can, but I'll try to do it without butchering it, is that, right, Clint and Scott they've been trying to do a lot of things. I'm sure that you guys and a lot of people on this project have used Rhino and Grasshopper a lot, and probably some of you on this call have written custom C# nodes for Grasshopper, right? And of course, we're writing many custom C# nodes at SHoP. We even have our own custom library of Grasshopper components. But that's not there are other firms that are also doing that. But what's really exciting is that we've been focusing on headless Rhino development. So we've been focusing on actually writing asynchronous, making sure that almost everything that we do is asynchronous, headless Grasshopper, which means that it's more scalable between projects and teams, where you're actually using configuration files in order to develop a lot of our generative workflows. And so that's an interesting thing is we're finding this stigma where Scott and Clint don't even like to open Rhino and Grasshopper now. They're just writing code for Rhino and Grasshopper behind the scenes and running it all headlessly, which is super interesting, right? And what that's allowed us to do on this project, we've actually written an entirely new infrastructure for this generative collection using this headless development standard. And what that's allowed is, typically with the constraints of real world buildings, the way that we were typically develop software is to develop it based off of these constraints. And now we have a different set of constraints. We were able to develop the infrastructure differently, which gave us more flexibility in actually developing the workflow to generatively design this collection. And, again, as Clint says, the impact that this new infrastructure that we've developed is actually going to have way more impact than just for this NFT Web3 development. This new infrastructure that we've developed, this new way to generatively design that we've developed, is fundamentally going to be cycled back into our real world work. So now this infrastructure, this software that we've developed to do all of this is directly impacting the future of generative design at SHoP architects for real world building. And that's what we're, again, what we're really, really excited about. Hopefully that was a little long-winded, but again, he can do a better job.
Yeah, that was like interesting, like headless Rhino calls. Yeah, that's quite amazing. I know we are past 1 hour mark, so we'll take 1 or 2 more questions. So I see Visagan's question: how difficult is it to add more layers like furniture, lighting, landscape? I guess like you can just import your GLTF file in Decentraland. It's good to go. We have one question from Franco. Is like the graphic qualities of the place you guys build are really good. Congratulations. What special things did you have to achieve this project on the platform? And I would like to add one more thing, if you can elaborate. So I saw like creating assets in this virtual world is one part of like as architects or creators role, but also we need to think about interaction, engagement, and gamification qualities. So if you can elaborate what new ways we need to start thinking when we are designing for this virtual world.
Yeah. Gamification is an interesting one. Interaction is an interesting one, right? Making sure that it's engaging. So many of these, if you build something interesting and beautiful, that's one thing, and somebody can go and look at it and run around it for 5 minutes, and then that's interesting. Or if you make it interactive, you add a mini game, you add so much of the audience in these virtual worlds, the daily active users is a young audience, right? So you need to know your audience, you need to know who you're interacting with. Of course, older and older crowds are starting to join in because of they see the impact of this. But to retain users for longer periods of time is important, right? To really increase engagement. So yeah, gamification is incredibly important, right? All of the most visited sites in these virtual worlds typically are the most interactive and gamified experiences. And so tying into that sort of process is very, very important. And then thank you, Francois, for that, to get that richness of quality, right? Again, we're always walking a tightrope. We're walking a tightrope between optimization. And so we are basically optimizing down as far as we can possibly optimize certain assets so that we can bring in additional assets to create that richness. So we're maxing out what these environments can possibly do by the polygon optimization, texture optimization, material optimization, object counts, right? Draw calls, all of these game techniques that we need to make sure that we hit that 60 frames per second to make sure that the user experience is incredibly smooth. We're doing that. And that luckily, right, we have the skill set to do that at SHoP. That's what we do all day, every day, is build build in game engines. And so yeah, it's I think that's what's allowed us to really push what's possible here, is that we know deeply what all these different constraints are. If it is tough if you don't know how game engines work and what you need to optimize for. It can be very, very difficult to get to that level of fidelity and be able to push in as much content as you can. You might come in here with a couch that is a high polygon couch that you didn't know is a high polygon couch because you don't know too much about mesh optimization. And then, it tells you that you've maxed out your scene and you can't add anything else. And then all you've added is a couch, right? That's no fun. And so, yeah, so it is tough. We're excited to engage with the community, to teach this community back what we've learned. And that's, exactly what you guys are doing, which we love and respect, is you guys are teaching the community back, right? We're going to be doing tutorials. We're going to be doing, classes and giving out online resources to help people understand how to develop these environments better, I guess. Anyway, so. Yeah.
Yep. Couldn't be like a better way to say, like, there are a lot more like additional skill set in, like, as you mentioned about mesh optimization, like teaching that itself is a very value added lesson, like apart from all the gamification. So the last question of this session, I wish I could continue, and you have given so much insights and valuable answer, is can you give us 3 actionable items for architects to dive deeper and excel in this space?
Yeah, 3 actionable items. 3 actionable items. Yeah, there's some, test, build would be number 1, right? That's the fastest way to learn, is just build. There's so many free resources. There's centralized and decentralized virtual worlds. There's many virtual worlds that you don't need to go buy an expensive piece of virtual real estate in order to test and build something interesting. I don't know if you guys have dove into Mozilla Hubs, but what an incredible tool. Mozilla Hubs is great. It's free and you can drag and drop and do multi-user browser-based experiences that are so smooth. With that tool, Twinmotion's free. You can do really high fidelity graphic visualizations and have a browser-based experience. Spatial has a free tier. Spatial is incredibly good. Anyway, so just build, get in there and drag and drop and play, I think is the first one. And then engage with the community. You guys are already doing that. I think that'd be the second one, is just learn from people and hear about their experiences. That's how I've learned, everything that I've learned about this space, is just having conversations just like this, right? Where I didn't know about Mozilla Hubs. I think I might have heard about it 3 years ago and tried it and it wasn't that good. And now I just tried it again 2 days ago and it's incredible. I hadn't used it in so long, and now it's like, wow, why hadn't I been using this for the last, years? Anyway, so just, keep having conversations, I think would be the second one. And then the third one, maybe refer back to the first 2. I'm not sure.
I was expecting you say ki, join the pre-mint list.
Oh, join the pre-mint list. Okay, that's a good one. Join the pre-mint list. That can be my third one. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, like I would like to congratulate on all the work you guys have done, and good luck for your launch. And coincidentally, like an hour before, like in our call, we Richa and I were discussing, let's do a workshop on Mozilla. So for all the listeners and viewers, Mozilla Hubs workshop is coming next month. So yeah.
Sounds good. I'll be there.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah. Hey, thank you guys so much again for having me. And, I'm really excited to keep engaging with ArchiDAO and, seeing how we can all collaborate. And thank you for the best wishes on our project. We're just going to keep building and see where it goes. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna build and we're all gonna make it. So that's all. Have a good rest of your day. Have a good walk in New York. Good summer